Hello, figured I'd like to do a little discussion about Booktube relationships. It's something that I've sort of just recently come to a little bit of a realization about, and it helped me kind of relax a little bit about my interactions on Booktube, and I figured I'd share that. Yeah, I'd like to share that. There's a couple of videos going around at the moment. Brian at Bookish, talking about kind of Booktube as a utopia, and Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading doing a video on what you define as a Booktube success. And this is sort of my little slice of the thing. And I should start off by saying that this is not a new conversation. I think kind of relationships on media in general, social media in general, have been kicking it around for a long time. And on YouTube itself, I think this is a well furrowed, plowed furrow. But I figured I'd just talk about this my little corner of booktube. Brian kind of made fun, saying like, oh, how many times I say that. I mean, I think when you say my little corner of booktube, we all have our own particular little corners. There's somebody who probably figures giantly into what I consider booktube that you've never heard of, and vice versa. We all make our own communities. Each individual makes their own community. I mean, a part of the thing is you probably, if you have interests like you're totally into literary fiction or you're totally into science fiction, you can find people who kind of cluster together, and you all do seem to have your own little corner. But of course, it's all imaginary, made up stuff. But there's that. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about how how I relate, and how I'm starting to conceive about how I kind of relate to people on Booktube. From sort of people who I've had like one-on-one communications with, people I chat with in comments field, people I've swapped we swap videos, we've kind of chatted that way. Even the very rare instances where I've actually gone off of YouTube, I'm very much just a single media a person. I only watch YouTube. I've actually had the rare instance of going off and using Vox or something like that to actually talk one-on-one with people. So there's all that. And I hear that some people actually take this YouTube booktube thing even further and actually meet in the flesh, which I hear it happens. I'm just in this room all alone with Theo, my Havanese. I have no conception of that, but I hear that happens as well. So there's all that, which is sort of it's very much the kind of the individual stuff. There's also just that stuff of I am an audience member as well. There's some people that I watch their videos, but I don't have that kind of that kind of personal interaction with them. It's strictly I'm in the audience. I enjoy their videos. Maybe I leave a comment or two, but I don't know if I would consider it to be we would have any sorts of relationship. I have a relationship of I'm an audience member. And that in itself is an interesting relationship. I think that's where there's the thing of for Booktube, especially because this little corner of Booktube where you have relatively low subscriber numbers, low amounts of number of people who are you have comments with, you can have kind of interactions with people on a one-on-one level who are commenters on videos, and those can be some of the great things. People who are not comfortable making videos but watch your videos for whatever reason, and you have one-on-one interactions with them. And that's one of those things I'm really happy restarting myself, that I've gotten back into that, to be able to have those kind of interactions. And those have, even this super early days, that's begun, and that is really rewarding and really valuable. But even on this little corner, what I consider a little corner of Booktube, there are people who their audience numbers, the people who just interact with their videos, not even, let's set aside subscribers, but the people who interact with their videos gets to such a large degree that it slides from being like, oh, I'm just like a person making a video for a couple of people and I can talk to those couple of people, to being I'm a performer up on stage, and my audience is so large that I don't you wouldn't have time to have that one-on-one interaction with them. It becomes very much more the dynamic of an audience. And the funny thing about watching people's videos, because I'm very much in this situation myself, if there's some people I watch, it's like, oh, they're too busy. They've got way too many people they're already talking to. I'm happy being an audience member. But you get into that feeling of like, oh, I know this person. I'm their friend in a weird sort of way, which isn't, this person knows who I am from Adam, who I've ever had a conversation with. It's like, no, but I spend hours a day watching their videos and getting to share in the parts of their life that they're comfortable sharing. And, that is where we go from it being kind of social media one-on-one kind of thing to being it's media. It's and you go into a parasocial relationship with these sorts of people. Wikipedia scholarship, parasocial interaction, PSI, refers to a kind of psychological relationship experienced by an audience in their mediated encounters with performers in the mass media, particularly on television and online platforms. Viewers or listeners come to consider media personalities as friends, despite having no or limited interaction with them. PSI is described as an illusionary experience, such that media audiences interact with personas, and then they list a whole bunch, including social media influencers, as if they were engaged in a reciprocal relationship with them. And this is a term that was coined by Donald Horton and Richard Wall in 1956. So, it is not a new thing at all, but it's interesting that it's gotten to the level of, with social media, that can happen to somebody who's probably, goes to work and stuff like that, but happens to have a channel that also happens to have 10,000 subscribers, and thousands and thousands of people watch their videos every day and interact, and they feel like they're kind of friends. And I mean, that's a part of the appeal, because I know I've engaged in those kind of relationships with people where you're like, oh, I wonder what they're doing today. It's like, it's a part of the appeal. It's like you like the person, you develop a kind of an emotional attachment to them, and that kind of develops, and that can be a really positive thing that can bring a lot of happiness and joy into life. If you're someone like me who's like an introvert and you don't have a lot of like outside friends, that's actually kind of like a really cool thing. Or if you're if you're perhaps a actually regular, well-adjusted person who has plenty of friends on the outside world, but if you're something like books, where, oh, I don't have any friends who like books, so I can kind of develop relationships, either one-on-one relationships or these kind of parasocial relationships, where I feel like I've got company for that. I've got company for this part of my interest. And sometimes it's funny how that interest can kind of fall away, and the personality that you're watching may not be somebody that you actually, I don't actually like what they read, but I really like the person, and I really enjoy getting that. And it's something I would never get otherwise. Probably, a lot of times, even if knew these people in person, you'd probably never get the chance to sort of sit down with them and start chatting about books. So there could be tons of people who I work with at work who are totally into books, but they're not sharing that. I'm not sharing that with them. We're there to do a job and then go home and live our isolated lives. I was thinking about this because we've definitely, in my little corner of Booktube, we've definitely hit that level where people have audiences, and people really care about the people they're watching. And if there's some conflict that comes up, people get really riled up, and it's like you're getting really riled up about a person having a conflict with somebody else. They may know each other, and there may actually be a beef there, or maybe they're just like they've glancingly hit each other on some kind of a little feud or an argument over something. But we as the audience start getting really involved in this, and I think there's a part of me that got kind of upset about that at the beginning, about like all these people kind of weighing in with their opinions, the very strong opinions about this person doing this wrong thing, and kind of like a little bit freaked out by that. And I think it's taken me a little while, slow learner here, to kind of go with, oh, this isn't because we're, and I know, people have discovered this on Twitter and stuff like that a long time ago, but, just that idea of like, oh, people are picking sides. This could be Marvel and DC, if you know the film industry, where people pick the size of one corporation over the side of another corporation and have amazingly kind of strong, passionate feelings of why DC sucks or Marvel sucks. Obviously it's indie artists who you should be rooting for, but let's not dive down in that one. But and in some ways that's from the outside looking in on a thing like that, or maybe Apple or PC, of people getting so kind of focused on that. For you standing from the outside, you can see how ridiculous that is, because it's corporations that people are investing their emotional time in. They're caring, they're defending this corporation. That is, I have to say, when I look at people getting really upset about one booktuber over another booktuber, which isn't to reduce them to soulless corporations, it's like, you probably know as much about these individuals, booktubers, as you do about these soulless corporations. And that's helped me have a little bit of distance in my booktube interactions. And just, the thing of, people are people. So, people can be having an off day. People can get, can suddenly seem to snap at you because maybe you've misworded something, or because we have different vocabularies. I do still have that thing with text messages of like tone. It's like trying to joke through text messages. It seems to be like a really bad thing. There's a reason why I probably like videos, is like, I feel like I can get a tone across. So yeah, I mean, I'm not coming to any grand, earth-shattering conclusions with all this stuff. This is all, at the end of the day, this is probably all, oh, let's all wait while Jay kind of figures this stuff out and pat him on the head afterwards. But it's just, I guess it's just to kind of keep that in mind, that we have on our a part of what I think is happening on our little corner of BookTube is places are getting large enough that it's less like the individual interactions. They're still there and they're still super valuable, and that's what I really love about it. But there is also larger things, there's audiences building, where it's more about, an audience that's going to really enjoy your video, that's not going to have that individual interaction with you. And sometimes, there's negative things about audiences. Audiences as a group can start feeling entitled to people, and can feel upset when they're deprived of what they suddenly feel like they should have. This is my imaginary friend, and they should be with me every single day, and I'm upset because they're not there. But it's like, no, it's these are individuals that we don't know that much about, really. Even if we watch hours of them every day, we get a slice of it. It may be to your taste. It may not be to your taste. And if it isn't, then you just kind of go on, because, boy, that's the one thing about really hammered home to me in the last little while, is like just how many booktubes there are. And, someone will look at my subscription list and have no idea who the hell these people are. And I'll look at theirs and I won't have any idea. And sometimes that's valuable in itself. It's really good when people post their subscription lists of who they're subscribed to, because you can go, oh, that person's in, go through it and say, oh, that person's interesting, that's not. I mean, to be fair, to quote Letterkenny, there's just so much on YouTube in general that there's something for everybody. But it's probably important to kind of, for myself, my own sanity, to kind of go with the, okay, there's all these different levels of relationships. There's all these different complications of relationships. There's this weird thing on YouTube in general, where there's like power dynamics, which I think sometimes get people in trouble. People, if they were just a channel with 5 subscribers and they were doing something, people would just like, oh, that's a jerk, and just toss them. But if it's a person with a lot of subscribers, then it's somebody abusing their power, and that is imaginary in itself and made up. But it's stuff that I've acted on. I felt very strongly in the past about, and to be honest, I am not exempt from this. I am definitely a goldfish, giving you his report from the fishbowl. But yeah, hopefully a goldfish with a slightly little bit more of perspective on the matter. However, once I've done my one rotation, I'll have forgotten it all, and then I'll have to come back and watch this video again. All right, that has been a long ramble about Booktube relationships. Yeah, no hot singles here. All right, I've been Jay. More videos later.